Coordinator of Perfusion Services at Ann and Robert Lurie Children's Hospital of Chicago. He also is a triathlon, marathon, swimmer, house rugby, and makes all of us look bad here on the panel, just like the other speakers that have. I mean, you got to stop this, or either we've got to get more active, Susan. What are we going to do here? We got to do something. So
I think everybody get up and go for a jog around the room right now.
I think we're going to have to, because we've been embarrassed this meeting with all of these things, and we're just sitting here eating bonbons. So thank you so much for joining us. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Carla.
Whenever you're ready to share, feel free to go ahead.
Well, thank you for the kind introduction, Carla. I think you overdid it, though. I am getting old, so I'm not that much of an athlete anymore. So, but thank you all for inviting me again, Brian and Susan, for walking me through this. And Bill, looks like you have a magic hat on, Bill. It keeps on disappearing sometimes, the brim, and it's kind of funny to watch, actually. And Ty, good seeing you again. I really like to thank you for inviting me to this meeting, because this is like the first big meeting of the year, and it's really a good kickoff to like show everybody what we're doing on the board. As Carla said too, in real life, I'm a pediatric perfusionist. I'm just like everybody else. I basically work the last 10 out of 11 days, pumping cases every single day. So I hope everybody's case volumes are picking up, because ours certainly has. And with that, I am going to start the show. Hopefully I'll do this right. All right, so briefly what I'm going to do is just review the board examination challenges during the time of COVID. I'm going to explore the outlook of perfusion educational programs during the pandemic. And I'm going to look into the impact of the pandemic on the CCPs and review certification stats. I will also discuss advancements and enhancements of the American Board during the adversity of the pandemic. So what are some coronavirus actions and responses that we had? Well, last time I spoke to you at this meeting, we were going through a hurricane. Everything was unfolding at one time. We did not have very clear communication of what was going on with Prometric and the national testing centers. So the examinees last year were scheduled on March 25th to 28th. 62 examinees were already registered to take the exams at that time. And I kept on looking at the Prometric website and seeing centers closing. I became very concerned about this. And we reached out to Prometric on March 16th of last year. And they said, no, everything's fine. Everything's open. We'll get everybody in. Everybody will have their exams. Well, then suddenly the next day, they informed us all centers are closed. So this really left us in a lurch. And the American Board really took this to heart. We notified all the examinees right away. We considered other options. We even considered meeting at a hotel someplace and giving out a paper exam at one time, just to get the exam out and get perfusionists into the field. However, the best decision was to wait and just wait it out and let Prometric come back online. So on April 19th of last year, they told us that the exam will take place on June 17th through the 20th. And again, all examinees were contacted and rescheduled for June. They were also given an option if this is too much headache and too much bouncing around, you can reschedule for free in October, and we'll definitely get you in October. At the same time, we were notified by clinical rotations that a lot of clinical rotations were not accepting students anymore. They were sending them home. So we had to take action. We temporarily waived the 75 cases and the 10 pediatric observation requirement for the students. We just basically accepted on March 16th the cases as is. If you had 72 cases, that's fine, we'll accept them. However, we found out just through auditing students that a lot of them had all their cases already. So only a few of them were, a couple cases. So it really wasn't a big problem at that time for us. We thought it was going to be a huge problem, but it really didn't turn out to be. So we reviewed all their applications, and we basically stayed ahead of the pandemic by contacting Prometric and the students and about the fall exam. We also monitor the progress of summer graduates for any hardships in starting your career during a national crisis. You know, these perfusionists have to pass their CAPES to become certified. So they have to take 2 exams to become certified in the United States. And a lot of state licensures and hospitals require you to be a CCP to practice. So we didn't want to hold anybody up. Oops. So the results of the examinations in 2020 were we administered 461 PBSE and CAPE exams through Prometric testing centers. The fall exams were on scheduled October 14th through the 22nd, and a total of 210 examinees earned their CCP in 2020. I'd like to congratulate, if anybody's sitting out there that took the exam, thank you for putting up with all the COVID changes, and congratulations. So this year, the spring exams were held on March 24th through 27th. There really wasn't any problem getting people in and finding a site this year, which is good news for us. So 39 examinees took the PBSE exam, 33 passed, and 62 examinees took the CAPE exam, and 52 of them passed the CAPE portion. So they will become certified. The fall dates have not been announced yet, but we will announce that very soon. We are also staying on top of educational programs. We don't want a situation that happened last year where all of a sudden, students cannot get their rotations, they can't get their cases. So we reached out to program directors, the PPDC committee, with Brian and Ed, and to have them survey all the schools and to see what is coming up. Are they short cases? Are rotations still closing? Are they back in the rotations? So only 2 programs responded of possible shortfalls in clinical requirements. One was an adult base, they just weren't taking any students anymore. There was a couple pediatric centers too that deferred their students for a couple months. However, a recent update that both of these programs expressed that they should meet the requirements, and they're back online. The students are back in the OR and doing cases. However, we were informed recently that one program might be moving graduation now a month back, and this poses a problem for us too, and for the examinees and the students, because now they're going to lose a month basically to get their cases to sit for the CAPE examination. So it might be tight for these students from this program that are going to be pushed back on their graduation date. This is not for sure yet, so hopefully they won't be pushing them back. What about the CCP? Well, last year we did send out a mass email to all the CCPs saying any recertification hardships faced by the CCPs regarding clinical cases or your professional requirements due to the pandemic will be handled on a case-by-case basis. And if needed, the CCP will be granted a filing extension at no charge until the end of 2020. And just to update you, everybody out there, that we did extend that to this year. And there's also an update. We did have a rule saying you could not have more than one extension in a 3-year recertification cycle. We all voted that this rule should not apply during a pandemic. So the good news is if you need an extension, you'll get it. But you have to notify the national office and go through the proper channels. You just can't sit at home and say, I want an extension. So you have to let us know. So let's look at our numbers and stats for this last year. So as I said before, and this is the annual report that was sent to everybody at the end of last year. So it doesn't reflect changes for this year at all. As I said before, the new certifications were 210 examinees. Conditional extended leave, we had 110, and there's an asterisk next to that for a reason. We're going to talk more about that in the next following slides. And we did have 131 on extension. The good news is our total certified is bumped up to over 4,500, And surprisingly, I was kind of wincing looking at numbers, thinking we're going to get hit hard with people losing their certification this year. And 94 was not a bad number. So I was kind of shocked by that. And I think this is something that we're going to have to really watch this coming year or the next coming years to see the impact of what the pandemic has done to our profession. So just an overview, 216 CCPs initially signed up for an extension as of August 1st of 2020. As I said, 131 were on extension at the end of the year. And the average number of extensions is about 94 CCPs per year that file for an extension for various reasons, life changes, job changes, et cetera. So, we consider this always. And of the 131 extensions, 67 of the CCPs were still unable to meet the requirements by the deadline, and the deadline's at the end of the year, and were moved to conditional certification. So a total of 174 CCPs are in conditional certification right now. And the average number, for the last 10 years has been about 99 perfusionists per year are in conditional certification. And conditional certification is not punitive. It's just another way to make sure that people are staying active and keeping up with their cases. They shouldn't think of this as punishment, and that you are fully certified when you're on extension, you're on conditional, you're on extended leave, you are still a CCP. And we also have to consider that a lot of people do go to extension, then conditional, then to extended leave, and then they retire. It's just kind of a natural progression that it seems like people do when they're thinking of leaving the field. So we'll have to watch for any bump in retirement coming up in the near future. And the American Board does expect further hardships. I mean, as I said before, my caseload is going up, but we're still hearing of some centers that really aren't up to par yet. So the American Board will consider other hardships due to the pandemic and will make adjustments as necessary. And every COVID-related extension is handled on a personal and case-by-case basis. We do have a committee set up that handles all these cases, all these requests, and any hardships will definitely go to the committee, and we will definitely handle anything on a personal level. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 94 CCPs lost their certification this year, and about 85 is average for the last 10 years. And this is kind of, as I mentioned before, I was really kind of shocked by that. I thought we would have hundreds leaving the field, but it seems like the pandemic might be delaying life plans. It seems like a lot of people aren't moving around, and they kind of want to stay put. So they might be putting off retirement, or going to work for vendors, or leaving the field. So we'll have to definitely watch this. I know we had a new hire this year, and I was kind of surprised that we didn't get more applicants. We got a handful of applicants, good applicants, but I expected a lot more during the pandemic that people would want to move. So maybe people are staying put more because of the pandemic. However, the American Board did hear some older CCPs that would be guided to retirement because of the COVID-related declining cases. I personally know of two perfusionists in the Illinois, Chicago area that were basically told, well, my caseload is down. How about retiring now? So unfortunately, they were kind of led to retirement because of the pandemic. And I just found this interesting article in the Chicago Tribune that as the COVID pandemic surges, so do Illinois teacher retirement. So, some professions are taking advantage of this pandemic and basically saying, okay, I'm done. This is too much. So again, we will definitely have to watch the retirement numbers. Big thing a couple of years ago was we all thought that people are going to be retiring en masse, and it didn't happen yet. So again, something to watch. The last 10 years of CCP growth has been very steady and upward. So that's good. Sorry about that. Got a little frisky dog in the background. Our gains and losses. So we had, as I said last year, 210 CCPs get their certification, and 94 leave the field. I think it's kind of interesting to look at the graphs and see, as long as we keep a nice spread, I think we're okay right now. It seems like in 2016 and 17, we did get a little bit close, about 50, about close to going under. So I think we need to watch this more and watch our numbers more. I did hear that there are new schools coming online, and I did hear that a lot of programs are increasing their students, number of students in their programs. So we might be seeing a little bump in more students and CCPs coming online soon. So the big question is always retirement. Everybody talks about retirement or leaving the field. So when are you hanging up the clamps? Well, we had a survey in 2016, and 38.2 said their percent of perfusionists out there said they're within the next 10 years. In 2017, we did a survey with the ACPE, and approximately the same rate, 39.6, said they're going to retire within the next 10 years. Again, dates may vary due to factors such as the economy or personal decision or a pandemic. We did find out that the average workforce, almost 30% are ages 50 to 59, and 15.3% are 60 years and older. I was just amazed to see that there are some perfusionists in their mid 70s still practicing, and that good for them, kudos to them. I tell you, after a week like this week, I don't know how much longer I can last. We are doing another workforce survey this year. We have partnered with the AACP, and it will be included in your recertification period. So basically, after you recertify, you're going to be redirected right to a survey. Please, please, please answer this in good faith and don't skip over it. We really need this data. Our profession needs this data. You need this data. So please answer in good faith. And we will definitely look at the current workforce again in this survey and the impact of COVID-19. So this is really kind of a very important survey, and I can't stress it enough to please answer this in good faith that when you recertify this year. Again, our study and surveys, we can only tell attrition rates. The American Board can't analyze supply and demand. We just don't have any means to do that. So I think we're going to have to collaborate with other organizations or other means and other perfusionists who are interested in this to really analyze what's going on in the marketplace. We cannot estimate or predict complex employee marketplace demands or shortages. We definitely need other metrics in collaboration with other organizations and other people to hone in on what's going on with our community. But I think this is going to be evolving for the next couple of years, and I don't know if we should rely on a pandemic bump or decline as a metric for the future. The big news this year is we finally released our new online filing system. So it's streamlined, efficient, user-friendly. It's multi-platform system, so you can be on your phone and download your case. You can use it on your tablet, your computer. It's universal on any device that you use. And we are having an ongoing commitment to improving the online filing system. To me, even being on the board for the last 10 years, I always found the online filing system kind of slow and clunky and took too much time. So we have really dedicated ourselves during this pandemic year, a little time where we can have a little breathing room and see what's going on to improve some things with us from the electronic background and to ease the CCPs that are filing and entering their professional activities every day. We did have a few hiccups with this new system. Again, the IT company that we hired, they got affected by the pandemic too. They had to close their office. They had to have people work remotely. So it wasn't the quickest thing. We planned on a really quick turnaround within 6 months, and it didn't happen because of the pandemic. There's also been a lot of problems with the transfer over of data from the old system to the new system. The old system was not really keen on details. So if you live on a street and if you put ST, that didn't really transfer over to the new system. So we had a lot of variations, and they had to fix a lot of files, but they had to transfer over 5 million files. So huge amount of data, and a lot of it had to be corrected to fit in the new system, and it took some time. So we started off with the soft launch, just kind of get it out there and see how it goes, get input from CCPs, and we will be having some online education soon, and meetings like this, we will be briefly talking about how to do this. So again, there are instructions online how to do this, but we will come out with something more intuitive soon that everybody can look at and walk through the system. So let's take a little bit of a look at this new online filing system. The first thing I'm going to tell you is there's mandatory user updates with the new system. You will first need to reset your password. And please do not use your social security number. In the past, we've had people enter their social security number as their password. Don't do this, please. No system is 100% secure, so please don't do this. You will then need to update your personal profile page, and you have to annually sign your electronically information of authorization of release of information to your designated authority in case you're audited, and the ethical statement that you'll have to sign. Just to note, Internet Explorer is not compatible with the new online filing system. So take your phone, but a lot of hospital-based computer systems are Internet Explorer based, and just remember it's not compatible with the new online filing system. So your dashboard is the first page you'll go to after you update your profile. This is basically your home page, your landing page. It's a main navigation page. There's profile updates if you move or change your phone. You could do it all there. It also shows your clinical and professional activity, your filing history, your password resets. You'll no longer have to call into the national office to reset your password. You can just do it right here online. Help too, if you have any questions about this new online filing system. I know it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve here for everyone, including myself. Email the American Board, and that we will guide you through it. And payment, it actually stores your credit cards if you want, and it also accepts PayPal. So here's a look at the dashboard. And one thing I really like is that it shows you how many cases you entered, how many CEUs you have already. So it's a running tally. It's no more of kind of counting the numbers and looking at it and, do I have enough? It basically tells you that you have enough. And this will stop counting at 40 cases because that's the requirement. There was some thought on the board to actually have the CCPs enter all their cases, and that would give us a better determination of what's out there. But I don't think, I wouldn't want to enter every single case that I do. And I think that's a little bit too much to ask right now, but it would be good information. If you notice at the bottom here too, there is a link to an instruction sheet. The instruction sheet is also found on our website, how to contact us, a CEU calendar, and SDCE calendar. Don't forget meetings like this for the perfusion.com meeting. Anytime that you are approved for category C1, category 1 CEUs, you will be on our calendar. You'll have like free basically promotion on our calendar. And if you need to see, if you're doing your professional activity report, hey, I went to a perfusion.com meeting, I can't remember the dates, you can click on that and it will show you what dates it was. So how do I enter a clinical case? Well, you click the box next to Add Edit on the clinical activity. Click Add New. You'll have to enter your hospital information first. And once you do this, your information is automatically saved in a drop-down list. So the next time you do it, you don't have to type it all in again. It's automatically saved. And it's not like the old system where you had to go into a separate entity, enter it or edit it, and then bring it over. So it just remembers it on this page. I'm sorry, I cut off the bottom of this page. You'll have to say who your designated authority is in case you get audited. And again, it is automatically saved. You will enter your case date, your surgeon that you work for, and your case category. Was it a primary case? Was it a secondary case? Were you instructor on this case? It's all in a drop-down list right there. One big change that we made this year, the type of case is no longer required. So if you did a triple bypass, AVR, it doesn't matter. Again, we're only asking for 40 cases. Anybody can put anything in there if they want to. When I first became certified 30 years ago, I used to enter the toughest cases I did that year, thinking, oh man, I'm going to impress the American employee by this, heavy load of cases. This data is really not looked at by the American board. So we all decided that this is worthless information. We don't do anything with it. The CCP can enter any data they want to. They can pick and choose any case they want to. So it's really not indicative of what they're doing. So we got rid of that. What we do and are very interested in capturing is a case category. Were you the primary perfusionist? Was it an ECMO case? Was it a VAD case? So for your 40 cases, we are interested in the category. What category are you using to recertify? So this is the part that's really important to us. Not really particularly if you did a triple bypass that day, but the case category is important to us. You must click submit to save the case. So just don't leave the page, hit submit, and then it goes into your record. And your dashboard will reflect, yes, you added a case. So how do I enter professional activity? Well, basically the same way, add edit, add new, and then you will choose your professional activity. I could not capture the drop-down list, sorry, but if you wrote a paper, gave a lecture, attended a meeting, it basically all appears on this drop-down list. You will just click next, and you'll say the event type, the meeting type, the date of the event, sponsor, location, title, and the amount of CUs that you earn from that. And again, you'll have a running tally of everything on your dashboard. So how do you finally say, okay, I'm done, I reached my max, and I'm going to submit? Well, you hit the submit button. You'll get a printout or an on-screen notification of everything that you've done. Everything that you've entered will be on this report. I did blank out a lot of stuff on the top because that's all my personal information. So I didn't want to announce that to the world, but you will get a sheet that looks like this, or a page that looks like this. You'll click next, and then you'll be redirected to the payment page, and you will choose your payment method. Again, PayPal. We did hear a lot of comments from perfusionists. Why do I have to enter my credit card every single time? So it does save credit cards now. So it gives you a little bit better options here. So what's the future of the online filing system? Well, as I said before, this is something that we're really devoted to. We really want to listen to the perfusionists out there and saying, what can make this easier or what can be improved here? One thing that we'd really like to do is partner with perfusion.com to make professional activity reports kind of auto-populate. Maybe a QR code that you can give for every lecture or signing up for a meeting. Once you register, you'll get a QR code. Click on your phone, goes right to the online filing system, automatically populates it. So this is some technology that we're looking at and considering for the next update. But after this first recertification period, we're really interested in this to see what perfusionists think, what can be improved, and we know it's not going to be 100% what everybody likes. So we are more than willing to make changes and to listen to the community on what we should do next with this. We're also thinking about making app-based communications from the ABCP. So your online filing system will have an app in it that will have surveys, information, notifications, communications. So this is something that we're currently thinking about and working on right now. So we can offer surveys to organizations or to companies and send it out to all the CCPs or those who will accept a notification on their phone. We're also thinking about ways to store your certificate and license on your phone too, on the American Board webpage. So if your employer needs to see your certificate or your license real quick, you'll have it available in your hand all the time. Again, please tell us what you think. It's not going to be perfect. We don't expect it to be perfect. So, we value your input, and we'll work on improving this for all of us and make it better and easier for us to enter all of our information. What else have we been doing this last year? Well, we have active subcommittees to investigate and address and collaborate with other organizations. We did start a ECMO VAD new technology subcommittee. And as I said before, we have a COVID subcommittee that looks into any effects of COVID via students, the CCPs, the impacts on their cases. So again, this committee is devoted to you. And if any problems come up, it goes to the subcommittee right away to handle any problems with the COVID situation. We also added, we heard from the community, we added ex vivo organ perfusion is now primary clinical case. There was quite a few perfusionists that reached out to us and explained this more to us and why it should be a clinical case. And I've never done ex vivo, but it seems like, number one, really cool. Number two, it does seem like it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of knowledge to do this. So it's definitely should be considered a primary clinical case. We're always working on exam development, and we constantly have assignments to write more questions. So our question bank is huge right now. But we did focus on ECMO and VAD questions. We fortified and updated a lot of our pediatric questions. Technology changes and techniques changes, so we have to look at everything from the exam and weed out old questions or get new references for questions. And we really worked a lot on updating a lot of the pediatric and ECMO questions. Again, we added many new PBSE and a lot of new CAPES this last year too. And all of us have CAPE assignments for the summer that we have to complete for the students. So a lot of new questions coming out and a lot of good work by the people on the board. And, for the perfusion community too, if you think you have a good question that you'd like to ask a student, you can submit it to us. We'd be more than appreciated to vet out the questions and references that you'll send to a question. And, you can have your question be asked to students. So we welcome that too. We did, everybody knows we do authorize clinical simulation centers that meet our criteria for having case credit for a simulated case. So this is another avenue where if you're short a few cases, you can go to one of these simulation centers and do a simulated case, and it'll count as a secondary case for you to stay certified. It's also a great way to keep up with your skills too. So, but for these 12 simulation centers that we have throughout the United States, there's certain criteria that had to be met from us to be approved for clinical cases. They can still do stuff for CEUs, that's fine. But if they're gonna have cases, they have to meet our criteria and standards to be authorized for clinical cases. Again, it's another good avenue for perfusionists to learn and to keep up with their case credit. And you can see our website for more information on the simulations. We also are very proud of this honor that we have for perfusionists with 20 years or more dedicated service. It's a CCP emeritus, and we currently have 655 CCP emeritus, and it's a really nice thank you to your service. And they get a nice certificate and plaque. It's really a thank you for everything that you've done in the perfusion community and for your patients. We also added an in memorandum section to remember the CCPs have passed and come before us. And it's actually humbling to look at this list and to remember some of these people. It might not have been best friends with them, but you might have seen them at meetings and in the hallway or at the bar and shared a laugh. And it's good to remember these people, and they should be remembered. So if you look over the list on the website, if we're missing anybody, please let us know, because we want to capture everybody and remember all the CCPs that came before us. We do have more big news coming this summer. Unfortunately, I can't tell you about that right now. So this is, still early in the spring for us, and we have some other big news that's coming out soon, and some changes that are coming up soon. And stay tuned. That's all I got to say. Again, the American Board will constantly monitor the COVID-19 crisis and effects on our profession and our educational system and the individual CCPs. The American Board will adapt to make any necessary certification changes during this difficult time. And in a tough year, the CCPs have continued to advance despite the adversity of this continuing pandemic. And I really thank you for all your hard work and patience with this pandemic. It's just, we've been asked to do more during this time. It's just uncanny to hear the stories of the perfusionists, what they're doing, from proning patients to giving wellness checks to employees. They're asked to go above and beyond. But that's what a perfusionist is. A perfusionist is always the person you rely on to go above and beyond. We're not just somebody in the background. We are an essential part of the team, and we will do anything for our patients and for our employers that we work for. I just want to thank you for your time, and thank you, and stay safe.
Bradley, thank you very much for the update.
Sure.
But could you give us a hint about what's coming? Just a little one. Come on.
Well, I don't know if I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then on a serious note, we had an amazing keynote speaker a couple of days ago who spoke about mission trips. One of the questions that we got repeatedly is, if our perfusionists from the America go on any of these mission trips, would this count as a case with the ABCP?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Good to know.
Again, all
I
you
didn't
have to
know that
list,
one either.
Yeah, all you need to list is the date, the surgeon, and the case category. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fully acceptable.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Brad, one thing I wanted to investigate with you guys is on the old website, you had like an XML system where you could import cases.
Right.
Does that still exist on the new, platform, or is it going to be different in some way?
Yeah, Brian, hopefully it's going to be easier. It's not going to be an XML. It's going to be a CSV file. So it's going to be easier to do, because I use the XML file too to download my information. And it was clunky. I mean, it was, if you got one thing wrong, the whole thing didn't work.
Is there a new area where they have the specifications published for that, so that we can make sure that we follow that? We have a lot of people in our company that use that because it's kind of built into our EMR system, if you will. So
right. I'm pretty sure it's on the instruction page there.
Okay.
Again, this is kind of a soft landing
Launch.
with the new online finance system. Yeah. So, it might not be fully capable as of right this minute, but we want to make sure by the filing deadline that it is, you can do that. And I will definitely put that on my list to verify and make sure that it will be done by June, by recertification time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I'm glad to use that, because, it always struck me that why can't we do it electronically like that? And
well, it certainly makes it a lot faster, when we do it that way. It's, you might have to adjust a few things here or there, but it's better than putting every case in manually for sure. So
right, exactly. Yeah, I'm the one that pushed that, and we made that XML. So, but XML is, it's clunky. So hopefully the CSV will be much better and much easier to do.
Okay.
Hey, Brad. It's Bill Harris. How are you, sir?
Good. Yourself?
Good. Doing well. Really enjoying your talk, as we have in past years. historically, I've had obviously a dubious relationship with the American board in the past, but like I've always said, bringing you into leadership has really brought clarity and some refreshing air to some of the old paradigms that I think the American board stuck to for a little longer than probably they should have, especially with like ECMO type cases. So again, I really appreciate your leadership and the changes that the American board have been making the last 5, 6, 7 years. Really appreciate it. So thank you for that.
Sure.
What comments that came in? Two people said they were having problems updating the required fields, that they were not updating. I don't think I've had any issues with that, but do you want to check that as possible a glitch for some people at some point? In other words, the new system does not update the required fields. And I don't know what they're talking about. So just some
Okay.
feedback.
Yeah. And to those of you out there that are listening to Bill's comments from what he said, please contact our national office with any problems you have. If you find a glitch in the system, please contact our national office immediately. I filed beginning of January when it first came out. So I was the first one to do it, and it went smoothly for me, but now we're hearing about some bumps like Bill just said. So please, contact our national office if you do have a little speed bump there.
The other question I had is, well, I got so many, but that's me. But we have other panelists on the field.
I got all morning, Bill.
Yeah, do you? Well, we have to get you off at 10 o'clock. But
Right.
we get a lot of requests for foreign perfusionists to find out how to get certified in this country. And I know that's been an obstacle for a number of years, and it's a huge hurdle for so many different reasons.
Right.
If we continue to have a real national shortage with schools closing, schools opening, or increased demand for working ECMO, who knows what caseload's going to do heart-wise. Is there any other windows that you see in going forward for entry of or simplification for that kind of thing for foreign perfusionists? I know it's a huge hurdle, and possibly the American board isn't the one that needs to drive that.
What you said last is probably the key there, Bill. So we require that you have to go to an accredited school, and it has to be approved by the ACPE and KHEP. So that is the linchpin there. You have to, if you want to be an international program, if you're in Europe or something and you want your school to be certified and to take the American board exam, they should apply to the ACPE and become accredited. Then their students can come and take the exam. But right now we need an educational standard. We need to guarantee that these students are being educated in a proper way. And it's a level playing field, and there are set standards to education. So to just say, I'm going to take the American board exam and you went to some school, someplace, there's differences in education. And, I'm sure their education in Europe and throughout the world is good, but some aren't.
But it is possible for a foreign school to be able to meet that standard and
yeah,
and do
absolutely. Absolutely. All you have to do is apply. So
Okay.
I'm on the ACPE committee too, and there have been talk throughout the years from foreign programs saying we'd like to become accredited. And it seems like they never pulled the trigger though. It seems like, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And then never do it. We've had centers in India, Saudi Arabia, that have been interested in doing this and just never did it. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen sooner or later.
Are there specific hurdles there that make that, challenging for them, from the ACPE side, or?
There is. Your clinical instructors have to be a CCP. That's one.
Okay.
Number two, site visits. You have to visit the program. So that means these international programs are going to have to pay somebody from the ACP to fly over there and inspect their programs. However, times have changed. The pandemic has actually been good in certain areas too, where, we are doing site visits virtually now. I must say it's not as good, because one aspect that we like about site visits is actually talking to the instructors, talking to the students. So, that's a little bit lost, but all the paperwork and everything like that can be done virtually. So it could be a short little trip to Europe or wherever. I'll volunteer and definitely go over and site visit someplace throughout the world. But it's going to happen sooner or later, Brian. And I hope it does, tell you the truth, because it should.
I just don't see where the incentive is for the schools to do that. Because they're going to, why train their own people and then have them go to another country?
Right. That's part of the problem too, but they keep on asking us to do it.
So maybe it's a carrot for their schools to be able to have that possibility of having that arrangement.
Correct. Yeah. So that's something that definitely will happen, and hopefully improve care for our patients and set a standard throughout the world.
Thank you very much, Bradley. That's very good.
Sure.
Very informative. We have quite a few more questions on here, trying to get through them all.
Sure.
Some of them had said, I did reapply in January after that was your new program was put to use, and it seemed much easier and very, very good. There's
That's
some
good to
other glitches that said that Colin Crinton said that over 30 cases he already submitted and they're already missing. So there are still some glitches that need to be
please, again, contact our national office for any of these questions. Please contact our national office.
Did that call in? Okay.
Because
another one too that's always been asked, and I think we ask you this every year too, is some people think that it's still archaic to have the 40 cases requirement. Do you think instead of just contact hours and that sort of thing, do you think the American Board will ever make that change?
I don't think so. We actually get people writing us emails saying 40 cases is way too few. It should be more than 40 cases. So, we got to eliminate all these little programs and it should be higher. So there's both sides that we're dealing with here. I don't really think so right now that we're going to change that standard. The contact hours is intriguing, but also if you work for a place with a really quick surgeon, you're going to be working a lot more to get your cases, right? If you're only doing singles and, if I'm doing an ASD, I'm on pump 20 minutes. So, there's both sides to that argument. Again, I was not involved with the initial choosing the 40 cases, and it always seems like it's a hot potato, what you should do with that. You have people saying it should be more, it should be less, it should be case hours. So right now, I think in the middle is pretty good.
For my own ignorance, Brad, what is the update on how many cases for like 8 to 12 hour ECMO shifts or some of these other standby cases for TAVRs and mitral clips and everything we're doing? How many of those now can go toward the 40 case minimum? 15.
ECMO can. If you're sitting ECMO, you can that's a full case. So, if you're sitting more than 6 hours, that goes as a full case.
Right.
VADs go for a full case. If you're asked by our definition is if you're asked by a surgeon or a physician, hey, this is a potential case, I need you to stick around. That's a standby case. You can document that.
Right. But how many, let's say I only do ECMO, can I still be certified and turn 40 ECMO shifts in?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not 15 ECMOs, but everything else has to be in the OR.
Correct. Yeah. So you can fully certify using ECMO, and some people do. It's not that many that do, but some people do. And that's why I said the case category is very important to us. So we want to see what you're using. We don't care about what type of case it is. We want to see what you're using. Are some people going ECMO and standby, ECMO VAD standby, purely bypass cases? So that's the categories that we're interested in. But yes, you can be fully certified just doing ECMO.
So the 15 limitation is really for standbys and
correct.
What other services?
15. It's mainly
OpCab, like HIPEC also is standby, right?
No, HIPEC now is a full case. So
HIPEC is a full case. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so,
That's maybe a new change then, huh?
That was last year, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, just a minor case like that, you can. It's a standby case. Again, everything's online, so you can look at the case categories and the definitions of what's in the case category.
You know, perfusionists are lazy, so I'm glad you're verbalizing this. Plus, it's recorded.
Right. Well, Brad said. Yeah, but please, I mean, the website will definitely spell that all out for you. I'm sure I'm missing some cases, some standby cases that you can use. And don't forget, you do get credits you use for being a clinical affiliate. And we bumped that up last year to 3 per year. So it's a good perk to, number one, mold the future, and number two, to get some CUs for that.
Can you explain how that works exactly?
So a clinical affiliate is you sign up with a educational program, a perfusion school, to become a clinical affiliate. You just have to basically sign an agreement, and like our hospital requires a contract and insurance from the program, and then we get students. And once you get students rotating at your center, you can get CUs for that. So all you have to do when you recertify, say, on that drop-down list and professional activity, instructor, boom, you name the school that you're instructor at, and you will get CUs for that.
Hey, Brad,
And I highly recommend being a clinical affiliate too, because we teach students from Rush University and Midwestern, and I believe education's a two-way street. You know, I learn from my students as much as I teach my students, and it's really, as I said, molding the future. You are molding the future with these students, and I'm staying on top of my skills by being an instructor too. So I highly recommend it to everyone.
absolutely. And it's a great opportunity to interview these students to see if you might want to hire them or they might want to come and work with
Right.
you too. So I think that's
Absolutely.
a great opportunity. And you're right, it does keep you sharp,
Right.
being a clinical instructor too, because they're sharp.
Right. They are
Yeah.
sharp.
Very,
Yeah.
very much so. Hey,
Yeah.
Paul Shuttleworth had a question too. He said if there's any information on how many students that apply to different perfusion schools that are turned away because the schools can't take any more students. Do we have any numbers or data on that?
And I think you have to contact the ACP for that specific details. And, you know, I think that actually boils down to that individual school too. So they'll probably refer you to the individual school, how many they turn away. Yeah, we get reports from the schools, you know, so it depends on each program, you know, how many they accepted and how many they turned away.
Mhm. And I think that's based on clinical sites too for the schools. A big problem for them, I think too. So, like you said, if there's any place that would like to be a clinical site, you know, contact me.
Right, or me, because I'll point you in the right direction. So
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad,
Yes.
Douglas Drogemer would like to know if he's covering 3 ECMO patients in a day, why does that count as 3 cases?
Why doesn't it count as 3 cases?
Why doesn't
Because
it count?
we've had a lot of discussion on this, and there were some centers that were covering 5 to 7 ECMOs at one time. We do not feel that this is a safe practice. That's why. So we value the 1-to-1. Sorry, but
Well,
I do think it's important and safety feature and good
See, I
patient
didn't know
care.
that was the ABCP stance that y'all promoted, the 1-to-1. I did not know
Right,
that.
and that's
Okay.
what we do.
Well,
Yes.
that makes total sense then. I
Right,
did
because-
not know that.
Yeah, and it was debated, hotly debated for many years that, you know, it was getting a little crazy what some people were sending us, and, you know, 5 to 7 ECMOs at one time, like that can't
That's
be
a
good for
lot.
anyone.
Where's-
Not good for the patient or the perfusionist.
Yeah.
Where's Bradley? We're seeing a standard like around 1 to 3, maybe at the most. But
Mhm.
I agree with you, and I think it depends on what kind of patients you have on ECMO.
True.
So I actually like the board stance on promoting the 1-to-1 ratio, because oftentimes, you're taking care of 3 patients, but you're there and it's the same VV and all that kind of stuff. And like people will take advantage of that. So I actually like the
Right.
promotion of 1-to-1, although in reality, 1-to-3, 1-to-2 is become the standard. Any more than that is just abuse, in my opinion. At least
Right.
that's what I'm seeing as an evolution with labor
Right.
force.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. I think safety is the utmost importance. So we have to consider that.
Yeah, 1 to 3 is fine till one decouples. So I've been there, done that, did that about 3 weeks ago. So I
Right.
Well, hopefully you don't
Oh,
have 3
jeez.
decoupling at the same time.
nope, thank goodness. So
Right.
I stand behind you on that. Well,
People
Bradley,
wanted
do
to,
we
Good.
have any more questions for the
people wanted,
ABCP?
yeah, people wanted to know if slides were available. Now, I know we have recordings, so they can always do some screenshots, but a lot of people are interested in some of the statistics that you showed, and I don't know if you make those available or not.
Well, it's available on the annual report. So you can look up the annual report on our website. It might not go into that much detail, but it's there, and you can refer to this recording too.
Right. The other last thing I wanted to say, unless we have 4 minutes before our next keynote speaker, is one thing that nursing has done, especially with COVID, but despite COVID, has had compact licensure, where 34, 35 states, if you're licensed in one state, you have reciprocity in other states. And we're seeing that trend, especially in nursing, some in perfusion, of more travelers. Um, uh, Part of it's financial incentive. Part of it is just, getting out of the politics of one hospital. I know licensing falls outside the American board jurisdiction. I know respiratory wants to entertain this. So if you wanted to travel to different states, you didn't have to continue with licensing through each specific state that you're going to travel to. I wonder what your stance might be on that as far as perfusion is concerned.
Um, I know that our national office does deal with licensure boards all the time. They are constantly referring to us because one caveat of being licensed is you have to be certified. So we are being contacted by licensure boards all the time. There has been, during the COVID pandemic, there has been a lot of reciprocity with licensure between states. However, that depends on the state. You get some states that are very stubborn. They don't want to do it, like Illinois, just won't do it. So it really depends on the state. I'm sure if there's a national outcry, we could probably lean on state legislators a little bit more to say, we need this done, especially in a pandemic or in a crisis situation. But it seems like a lot of states waived, their requirements for licensure and allowed licensures from other states to be used in their state, except for some states like Illinois.
Again, it was temporary, but would the board promote that, recommend that to the states that you're involved with?
I think we would, tell you the truth. Again, I'm only one person, but I think we would. I think it should be. I think it's a good idea because we do have a lot of people that are transferring jobs, and I get away from my state licensure for 3 months. This is ridiculous. So, we do have a lot of that. And why should somebody wait to work when they're fully certified and experienced and licensed in another state? So I think we would support that bill. Again, I'm one person, but that depends on the other 8 people on the board. But I think it's a good point, and I would definitely promote that.
You may be one person, but you're a big person.
Funny. All right. Well, Bradley, that is our hour. Thank you so much for joining, especially on a Saturday morning when your dog obviously wants to go for a walk. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And we're getting a lot of good feedback on your new website as well. So thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Carla. I always enjoy speaking at this meeting. As I said before, this is like a kickoff, and this is like the the introduction to the year for me. So,
Wonderful.
hopefully I'll see you next year.
Next year in
Florida, though.
person. In
Yeah,
person.
good.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me again. I really appreciate it.
All right. See you next year.
Bye-bye. Thank you.